All right, so we have other stories that have been flying under the radar due to what's happening in Los Angeles. Number one, the president of Mexico has issued her own threat to the United States of America. Number two, President Trump's travel ban has gone into effect. And number three, the U.S. Marines have been deployed to Los Angeles, and Pam Bondi drops a stunning announcement.
Mexico's socialist president, Claudia Sheinbaum, over the weekend called for protests in the U.S. over a provision in the reconciliation bill that will tax remittances. Remittances are payments from illegal aliens in America back to their families in their home countries. U.S. banks and foreign nations have profited handsomely off the harm caused by illegal immigration to Americans. Trump wants to take away that income stream by taxing the daylights out of it. I agree.
All right, so here's what you need to know right up front. We're going to show you exactly what the president of Mexico said, because she's losing her mind over this idea that Congress wants to tax the money that is being sent on behalf of migrants back to their home country. Now, I think you're going to really be stunned when I tell you what that amount is, for the record. But before I say that, number two, she wants protests to take place in our country. Reality check here. When the left starts to protest in 2025, what happens? It turns violent. Now let's get back to what that number would be according to the big beautiful bill. Ready for it? It's 3.5%. Now, unless you live in a state that charges no tax, I think you'll take 3.5% on mostly anything in our country. Now I'll show you the clip from the president of Mexico and how hypocritical she really is. Take a listen.
We do not agree with this way of addressing the migration phenomenon. It is not through raids or violence that the migration phenomenon will be addressed. It is by sitting down and working on the comprehensive immigration reform that takes into account all Mexicans who are on the other side of the border. That is our position, and we will always call for peace, for nonviolence, for non-exacerbating any form of violent demonstration. None.
A few moments later.
If necessary, we will mobilize, because we do not want taxes on the remittances sent by our fellow countrymen from the United States to Mexico.
So in the beginning there, she says she does not believe in mobilizing and trying to fight, and we should just sit down and have a conversation. But then in the second clip, she's talking about mobilizing. So which one is it, President? Now, we know she's a true socialist. We know that we would never trust the president of Mexico. That entire country is morally bankrupt as far as the federal government is concerned. And they're controlled by the cartel. So get real. She has zero credibility on this issue. She's even lucky that President Trump is as nice as he's been to Mexico. In fact, I would argue he's been nicer to Mexico than he has Canada. Now, Congressman Eric Schmidt fired back at the president of Mexico by posting this. The House's big, beautiful bill addressed the urgent need for a remittance tax, but we can go further. I'm introducing legislation to quadruple the proposed remittance tax from 3.5% to 15%. America is not the world's piggy bank, and we don't take kindly to threats.
So reports are that the president of Mexico, Sheinbaum, is telling people here to go ahead and get out there and protest. Is that how normal relations go between countries?
Harris, thanks for having me on. No, that's outrageous. If those reports are true,
exactly.
No foreign leader should tell their foreign nationals in another country to go protest that other country. Indeed, Americans that are down in Mexico would not be permitted to protest inside of Mexico. That is both indecent and bad politics for her and bad for the Mexican people. It's bad for all of the citizens of Southern California who are just trying to live a peaceful life, to encourage these protests, to encourage this violence, and to not support President Trump's efforts to keep the place safe and secure seems inflammatory, if indeed this is what the president of Mexico did.
And now we go to our next story, which is also international news that is centered around President Trump and his policy decisions. And we're talking about the travel ban that he announced last week. It has now gone into effect. And yes, people are losing their minds over it. Now, before I show you the reactions and the meltdowns, let's first understand exactly what this order entails. Take a listen.
There are actually many exemptions to this ban, which make it distinctly different from the first iteration of the travel ban that we saw during the first Trump administration. So what these exemptions include are dual citizens. So citizens from these countries and the United States, they are not subject to this travel ban. Also, people who are legal permanent residents in the United States or current visa holders, they also are not subject to this travel ban. Another sect of people that aren't applied are people for whom travel travel to the United States would serve U.S. national interest, but national interest isn't actually defined, so we'll watch and see how that exemption plays out. And then there are other groups of people, including people who are athletes and their coaches coming to the United States for major sporting events. Of course, think the World Cup in 2026, the Olympics in 2028, Iranians who are traveling and fleeing persecution of religious sort in their country. They are not subject to the ban. And then Afghans who could qualify or already have special immigrant visas. Those are people who served alongside Americans during the Afghan war. They are not subject to this ban. So there are many exemptions here, which make it distinctly different from what we saw during the first travel ban.
So no matter what mainstream media wants you to believe, the fact remains is that President Trump is doing what he was elected to do: keep Americans safe. Now, he's doing this. Why? Because it's very clear after that attack in Boulder, Colorado, that there are individuals who slipped through the cracks during the Biden administration who are looking to cause harm on our soil. So it's right for the president to make this move. Now, if you listen to Democrats, they believe he is racist, and this is once again him discriminating against innocent people. Now, I do have a clip to show you of them saying just that. Take a listen.
This discriminatory policy is just another attack on legal immigration and family unity. And it will hurt, as you heard from my colleague, Rep. Omar. It will hurt our economy, our communities that rely on immigrants, whether it's caring for our families, teaching our kids, building our homes. And so it's an honor for me to co-sponsor, yet again, Representative Chu's No Ban Act.
So the No Ban Act is Democrats' response to this, and it's more contrarian than it is bipartisanship. And that's the issue with Democrats as a party. They can't agree with President Trump on anything. They just can't do it. I don't think they can help themselves. They're like an addict. Donald Trump is their drug of choice, and they want to see him fail. And that's unfortunate. You don't want the president of the United States to fail. You want him to succeed, regardless of your political affiliation. Now, I know that requires some emotional maturity, which I think at this point Democrats lack, but that is the clear reality and the type of leadership we need in our country. Now, here's MSDNC continuing to peddle the nonsense about the travel ban and how it's really going to negatively impact people in so many different ways. Take a listen.
It's hate and confusion across the board. This is not something that had to happen. The reasons behind it are not substantiated. I think that the legal standing of this is a little bit stronger because we learned, or the administration learned from its Supreme Court's failures before and tailored this a little bit differently. But let's be specific about what this travel ban speaks to. It speaks to African countries and the Middle Eastern countries specifically. And then the 7 other countries in the Caribbean, which are also mostly Black immigrant countries. So it's a very focused sort of agenda here, along with ending TPS and the other. It's about harm to the world and a certain type of immigrant message that it's sending that we don't want you to come here, regardless of the disruption, because these individuals add the 300,000 that are probably impacted based on the American Immigration Council's finding is about $2.5 billion worth of income for the United States that we're sort of turning away.
Okay, so here's my pushback to Democrats if that's their thinking. We're going to lose $2 billion. So do you put a price on the lives that were impacted or lost during the New Orleans terror attack this year on January 1st? What about the terrorist attack that just took place in Boulder, Colorado? Do you put a price on that as well? Who cares about $2 billion when we're talking about American citizens' safety? That is the number one job of the president of the United States. Now, here's Tom Homan, the border czar, also commenting on the travel ban. Take a listen.
This is about protecting America. Right, we spent 4 years, got over 2 million known gotaways. How many of them came from a terrorist a country that sponsors terrorism? We don't know. President Trump has taken every step possible to protect this nation from a terrorist attack and from other criminal activity that crosses our border and comes into the visa program. So this is simply making these countries step up and doing the right thing. When you send someone and give someone a visa come and they enter the United States, we want proper vetting done before they come here. That's what this is about.
It's really that simple. And I think Democrats have a hard time accepting it because that's not the way they see the world. They don't believe in law and order. They don't believe in protecting American citizens. And if they say they do, they believe protecting American citizens also involves protecting illegal aliens, even if they are committing crimes. Now, let's go to our next story, which I know we've been talking about this ad nauseum, but this is a big update. So it is official, 700 Marines out of 29 Palms, the U.S. Marine base, they have been activated and they're heading to Los Angeles now.
CNN's Natasha Bertrand is live for us at the Pentagon. Natasha, what are you learning? Well, Brianna, this is something that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth had previewed over the weekend. He said that if necessary, he would deploy the Marines to Los Angeles to help federal agents with handling the protests there. And it appears now that these Marines, according to our sources, they have been mobilized. These 500 Marines, a full Marine battalion based out of 29 Palms, California, which is just outside San Bernardino, about an hour away from Los Angeles. They have been mobilized and they are gearing up to go and help ICE agents as well as other federal officials deal with these protests in Los Angeles. Importantly, they're going to be bolstering as well the National Guard, guardsmen and women who have been activated in Los Angeles by President Trump. But as you said, it is a significant escalation of the president's use of the military as a show of force against these protesters. It's really not clear, the last time Marines were deployed to help essentially with riot control, though it's unclear at this point just what their actual tasking will be. Typically, if they are deployed to these situations, it is expected that they will operate in much the same way that the National Guard does, doing things like perimeter security, maybe some crowd control.
Okay, here's what you need to know about what she just said. And I think she's missing the point here. Factually, number one, May of 1992 was the last time the U.S. Marines were called up in this same way. This was in response to the Rodney King riots that were happening in Los Angeles. And number two, military personnel, particularly military police, they are trained in riot control. But because they're being called up for Title X, which we talked about in the last video, they're only there for perimeter and to protect federal assets, building, and personnel. And number three, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not noticing by now, they continue to speak about the military as if they don't know what they're doing, as if they just woke up today and all they know and all they've been trained on is to put on their uniforms, for Christ's sakes. Now, let's show you some updated footage on why maybe the Marines need to be on the ground. Take a look.
Taken off. Is it because they're fighting? Yeah, so that's the guy. Okay, so the guy there on the left, the bald guy that is being hit, I don't know if he's an agitator or exactly what happened, but whoever he is, the crowd is not fond of him. And that was the same guy that they were just kind of fighting with earlier. And now, for whatever reason, it's pushed over to this area here at Temple and Judge John Aiso Street. And it looks like they've got him pushed up against that kind of guard shack or that parking shack there. And I can't tell, but it looks like he's bleeding. He's bleeding from the head
from
now.
the ear or
They're
something.
throwing things at him. We've seen people punch him. So I don't know exactly what's going on. This happened once or twice yesterday, too, where the crowd kind of fought amongst themselves, but really not. Goodness. Yeah.
No. We're seeing them with these flag poles, and we know that those poles can certainly be used as weapons. Yeah. It looks like some of the folks there are trying to protect that man. He seems to be trying to get away from the crowd, but there are some that seem to continue to go after him.
And Mike, in this ramp, where does this ramp
I believe
lead
this is
into?
A courthouse. Judge John Aiso, let me go look here on my map. But this is kind of indicative of what's going on.
Okay, now that you've seen the footage, I think it supports the president's decision to not only call up 700 Marines, but he's activated an additional 200,000 National Guard troops. And what does the governor have to say about this? Well, let me read it to you. I was just informed Trump is deploying another 2,000 Guard troops to LA. The first 2,000 given no food or water. Only approximately 300 are deployed. The rest are just sitting, unused in federal buildings without orders. This isn't about public safety. It's about stroking a dangerous president's ego. This is reckless, pointless, and disrespectful to our troops. Now, I did respond because you guys know I like to stick to the facts that I did serve in the military. Of course, the governor Newsom is assuming you won't do your research. Soldiers always deploy with enough food. We're talking about MREs, meals ready to eat, water and ammunition that obviously will meet mission needs. Now, strategically, you're not going to deploy everybody to the front lines. You will send a certain amount, reassess after a while, and if additional soldiers are needed, then you will send them. And in most cases, you keep most of them in the rear for support reasons. Third, National Guard troops are being used to protect federal buildings, not riot control in the streets. That's why President Trump used Title X. But Gavin Newsom wants you to believe that these troops are being used against American citizens. No, they're protecting federal buildings. Now, here is what Hakeem Jeffries said earlier today about all of this, including President Trump's actions. Take a listen.
We will not be lectured by Donald Trump and anyone in the Republican Party about issues of law and order. Not a single one of them. You know what he did do on day one? He pardoned hundreds of violent felons criminals who brutally assaulted police officers and attacked the Capitol on January 6th. And so the notion that Donald Trump and his minions, his sycophants here in the House of Representatives or in the Senate, who are nothing more than a reckless rubber stamp for Donald Trump's extreme agenda, are going to lecture America about issues of law and order, get lost. We're not feeling you at all. You have zero credibility.
All right. I know that might have been a little torture, but guys, come on. I think it's funny. I think it's funny because at this point, we're in this reality TV show called Congress, and I think Hakeem Jeffries plays this role very phenomenally. I mean, you can't take him seriously. I hope you don't. And for the record, if we did take him seriously, the same could be said clearly about Democrats when the former president pardoned his whole family when he walked out the door and didn't even offer an explanation. So I think that's a wash there, okay? And for the record, when it came to the January 6th individuals who were pardoned, they served jail time, okay? So there's a difference there between that and the Biden crime family. Now, let's get back to the facts here, because again, he doesn't want to acknowledge that law and order is the thing that Republicans should be talking about. But there's no question law and order needs to be established. Pay attention to this next clip where rioters are using innocent people and their vehicles to shield themselves so they can assault police officers. Take a look.
A woman in a minivan. I don't even know how she got into this corner. She's in the corner. She's trying to get out of her car. Protesters are they trying to help her? They're trying to help her. But
blocked off more.
Yeah, giving them access, safe passage.
Yeah, because if you've got, now see, we're looking at these young people right now throwing whatever they're throwing. I'm hoping those aren't rocks, but we can see those being lobbed at police officers. And we know that they didn't close the downtown area today. People went to work. Mm-hmm. And people are probably just trying to leave work. And there's another smoke bomb going off, obviously, from law enforcement.
Okay, so in the context of law and order, it's very clear that they don't have things under control. You got innocent people. I don't know why they're driving through that area. I mean, you're just asking for trouble. I think that's obvious. But anyways, you got these rioters hiding behind the vehicle, throwing rocks at police officers. I hope they do find them and they prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. And number two, what Democrats are continuing to get wrong is they can't just admit that two things are true at the same time. We should allow people to peacefully protest. No issue there. Go ahead. You don't like what President Trump is doing? Have at it. But once it turns violent and you start to obstruct or attack federal authorities, you should be locked up immediately. Now, speaking of federal authorities, the Department of Justice is now speaking out about what they plan to do if they catch people committing crimes, especially attacking police officers. And it comes from the one and only the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Here's what she just said on Fox News.
What we're going to do is we are going to enforce the law regardless of what they do. Look at it out there. It looks like a third world country, and it's not. It's the United States of America. We are not standing for it. Donald Trump won't stand for it. And something else tonight. Look at all those great men and women in the LAPD. We are going to protect them. If they will not protect them and prosecute people that abuse the LAPD in terms during a civil unrest under 18 U.S.C. 231, we can prosecute federally people who assault state law enforcement officers with a maximum of 5 years in prison, and we are going to do it. We are going to prosecute them federally. If California won't protect their law enforcement, we will protect the LAPD and the sheriff's office out there. Not only that, we have 9 open cases right now and more to come on assaulting federal officers. The Molotov cocktail cases that you've seen, we've charged 1, more to come, 3 outstanding. The looters, you saw they began to loot last night, going into 7-Elevens, going into drugstores. Typically, you don't charge those. We do under federal law now. Under the Hobbs Act, we are charging robbery. You loot a business in California, you are looking at maximum of 20 years in prison. You spit on a federal law enforcement officer, no more. As President Trump said, you spit, we hit. Get ready.
Okay, and the vice president also put this message out. This administration will not be intimidated by lawlessness. We will stand by the FBI agents tracking down violent criminals, by the guardsmen, local police, and Marines restoring order, and by the ICE agents enforcing our immigration laws. President Trump will not back down. Now, also in that interview, Pam Bondi announced that they have identified the individual who was throwing cinder blocks at federal vehicles. Take a listen.
Cinder block case, Sean. Remember that case? We have breaking news right now. The case where the guy was breaking up the cinder blocks and he was throwing them at police cars. The police officer, the federal officer had injured his hand. He was wearing a mask. The FBI has identified him. Bill Isali, our incredible U.S. attorney out there working with ATF, DEA, and the FBI have been doing a remarkable job. That guy has just been identified, and they are doing a search warrant on his house as we speak. And he has been identified. See his face. He is going to be on, his name is Reyes. He is going to be on the most wanted list. You have broken the news. His face is out there right now. That's him. He has been identified by great police work by the FBI. So you can run, you can't hide. We are coming after you federally. If you assault a police officer, if you rob a store, if you loot, if you spit on a police officer, we're coming after you.
Now, the FBI put up this flyer seeking information, assault on federal officer and damage to government property. They have his face now here, and they're offering up a $50,000 reward. Now, this obviously was posted earlier today because they did finally identify him. I'm just showing you what led to it. And guys, I don't understand why people think it's worth it attacking law enforcement officials. I mean, I get you hate President Trump. But do you hate him so much that you're willing to throw your life away? You know, are you willing to destroy what you have going on in your life? Is it that serious for you? I hope not. Now, here's President Trump and what he had to say earlier about Gavin Newsom during a roundtable at the White House. Take a listen.
He's an incompetent governor. Look at the job he's doing in California. He's destroying one of our great states. And if I didn't get involved, if we didn't bring the Guard in, and we would bring more in if we needed it, because we have to make sure there's going to be law and order. You had a disaster happening, and they now admit it was a disaster. I watched the chief yesterday, who's a good man, by the way, and he said, well, we're lucky we did this because they were overwhelmed. You saw what was happening. So we did the right thing. Everybody agrees to that. But you have a governor who let the city burn down, didn't want water to be sent down to him. I sent billions of gallons of water. I wanted to do it in the first term. He wouldn't do it over, I don't know, they have environmental reasons, but there were no environmental reasons. I think it's just a political philosophy. But it's lucky for the people in Los Angeles and in California that we did what we did. We got it just in time. It's still simmering a little bit, but not very much. Yep.
Okay, so am I allowed to disagree with the president here? Is that okay with you guys? Listen, he says it's simmering down. I disagree. If you look at the current footage that's out there right now, I'm about to show you a clip that was just posted 5 minutes ago. These rioters are now receiving supplies. Somebody is funding this operation. That's number one. And two, delivering the supplies they need to keep this going. We're talking earplugs, gloves, water bottles, face shields.
And you kind of get to learn what the agitators look like. And I'm seeing a decent amount of them out here right now, always dressed in black, always with face coverings, not holding any signs. And as I told you earlier, Sean, a lot of people were showing up here and they were being given earplugs, gas masks, water bottles, not to drink. A lot of those water bottles are being thrown. So, unfortunately, it looks like we might be heading for another night of things crossing the line here in Los Angeles. And as we're waiting for apparently more National Guard and more U.S. Marines to head down here to Los Angeles. We're not seeing any of them in the streets. The National Guard, they're basically sitting around federal buildings helping protect them. They're not out in the streets pushing these protesters back. This is all the locals. Everything you're looking at in front of us right now is LAPD. It's not California Highway Patrol. The LA Sheriff's Department is behind us. This is all LAPD. And we heard the chief of LAPD say last night they're a bit overwhelmed. And, that's once these agitators come out in huge numbers and LAPD has to constantly respond to different areas. They reported that some of these people were using radios to communicate with each other last night to report law enforcement movements.
Yeah, and so that's the latest update there. And so if Democrats and mainstream media want to continue to downplay this, blame it on President Trump, they're going to lose miserably. Anybody with a brain understands that this thing is not under control. that Gavin Newsom, the Los Angeles mayor, they have not done a good job. It took them 2 days to finally start saying something about this. It's as if they're okay with a little bit of protest. They're okay if vehicles are being burned. They're okay if businesses are impacted. They don't mind that because in their eyes, it's all about what? Stopping President Trump. And so now it's time to hear your guys' opinion in the comment section below. We talked about multiple stories in this video, starting with the president of Mexico issuing a threat to encourage people to protest on our soil because she disagrees with a 3.5% tax on money that is being made here and being sent back to somebody's homeland. I think her efforts are misplaced there. You let me know if I got that one right. Also, President Trump's travel ban is now in effect. Of course, Democrats are calling it racist. Do you agree? And finally, I've given you guys the big update so far in regards to the riots that are happening in Los Angeles. Let's pray for our country. So give me your thoughts and everything in the comment section below. Now, if you want to know everything that took place in regards to these riots in Los Angeles this morning and what both sides are saying, including fact-checking the claim that President Trump and his ordering of the National Guard troops and the U.S. Marines as unconstitutional, I'm going to show you exactly what the law says. All you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.